Today we are starting our retaining wall / parking space project. As you see, I have all my lines out. I've marked where I'm putting my 6x6s. So a little overview of how I did this is I started my grade up there with this string line. Ooh. I used a line level, so everything is level off my corner posts. I'm over here. This is 40 inches high. As soon as you go over 48 inches or 4 feet, it's probably best to get an engineer because that's a lot of weight on that retaining wall. So my plan is to put two 6x6s here, 40 inches high. So I go at least the height in the ground, but I'm going to go 48 inches down, 40 inches high. For your 6x6s or whatever post you use, I prefer to space them 36 inches or less, especially when I'm going this high. So you can see here on my marks on the ground, these are actually spaced 34 inches because I think this is going to get the bulk of the weight. See? So the plan is 6x6s for my post, and I'm probably going to do 2x12s for my slats in between. But we'll go ahead and get started. I'm digging now. It's all sand, so it's actually pretty easy to dig. And before I forget, if you're digging in America, you want to call 811 before you start digging. You see that line there? That's actually my power. So I made sure my first 6x6 was a little bit away from it, but I'm definitely gonna take it easy around that spot. But I had no idea my power went this way. So I'm sure other countries have the same, but United States is 811. You could also get it online. So as it got dark, I threw some lights up, put a couple more of these 6x6s up. Also ended up going to the store, grabbing the rest of my 6x6s in concrete. What I wanted to do is quickly talk about my lines, how I put them up and how I got these posts straight. As you can see here. So the two lines I have, this one I measured off my driveway. I think it was like 38 inches, but this line going this way, I didn't have anything to measure off of to make sure it was square. So what I did was use the 3, 4, 5 method. And how you do that is you have your location where your two lines meet. You measure back 3 or 4 feet. Here I measure back 3 feet. I have a little black mark. And this line I measure back 4 feet, and I have another black line up here. And from these two black marks, what you would do was through your measuring tape, from this black to that black mark should be 5 feet. So once that's 5 feet, you know it's perfectly square. I did the same on the other side. Another tip is when you are putting lines up, you don't want them against the wood. You want them off the wood, because as soon as they are against the wood, it could throw off your whole line. So each of my marks are 3 3/4 back. And make sure, so I'm using 6x6s, so 5.5 inches is the width of these. I'm measuring this side and this side to make sure it's 3 3/4 from the line, because these easily get twisted. As I'm throwing concrete in here, I'm gonna have to get a lot more concrete, but the goal is you want your concrete up past the dirt and actually molded down. This will keep water off your 6x6. So this is if you're building a fence or putting any kind of post in the ground, you want your concrete above the grade, because you want to keep water and dirt off your posts, because that's what's going to eventually rot it away. So if you just keep concrete on it, it should last a lot longer. So I'm going to keep digging, and we're going to put the rest of these 6x6s in, and then keep on building this retaining wall. Well, I got all my 2x12s installed. The next project is going to be putting in the drainage. I've got weed cloth that's going to go down, and then some corrugated pipe is going to go inside that along with some drainage rock. And then I plan on cutting a hole in this bottom 2x12 for my drainage to go out that direction. When it rains, once this is completely done and it rains and I actually see how much drains out, I might end up digging a hole here and filling it with rock so the runoff doesn't just erode my yard, but we'll see when that time comes. So we'll go ahead and get started on this drainage, and then we'll start calculating for sand and rock. Here's one of my holdbacks put together. To attach the 4x4s, I use these strips. You can see it. I initially put a screw in here just to hold it, then I lag bolted both sides. And that's how it looks. All right, so we have all our tiebacks installed. I went ahead and only did one lag bolt in each of them. I bought enough for two, but because of how short the wall is, I wasn't going to be able to get two in these first three, and I wanted it to all look uniform. So I went 18 inches from the top down, which pretty much centers the lag bolts in each of them. And now on the front, it looks very even. I also put in my cap. I used a 2x8 for my long section here, which is 22 feet. I had to put two of them together, and I just 45'd it. See if you can see it. And on my edges, also did 45s. And I left a 2-inch overhang on the ends. And I left them square. I went over the whole thing with a sander to cut off any of the sharp edges and to make everything look nice. I also put, for my 45 here, I put 2 2-inch screws on each side to hold that together. I ended up face nailing everything instead of going from underneath. This was a lot easier. The trick is, when you do face nail, you want to measure it. So I went 1.5 inches here and 4.5 inches here, so everything's the same, so it all looks uniform. So if you're going to face nail, make sure you make it all look uniform. The next thing we need to do is order sand. So I'm gonna have to fill this with sand. I'm going about 6 inches from the top of my cloth there, and the rest is going to be rock, so we can actually drive on it. These things, if you don't know what these are, the holdbacks or tiebacks, this is to stop your wall from bowing forward or giving way. I mean, there's not much weight that's going to be on here. I don't know if these were very necessary, but it's extra security where nothing's going to push this wall forward or make it bulge. If you go over like 4 feet, that's when you want to start talking to an engineer, because there's several different ways you can do these. This is probably the easiest and cheapest that I know of. For actual a wall that's holding back something, what they're going to use is usually a metal rod that goes through and anchors, like, I mean, it goes 20, 40, 60 feet across and anchors into the yard. And it usually looks like a giant screw, and they just screw it in. And those are extremely expensive, but it will make sure your yard or your wall can hold back whatever it needs to hold back. My neighbor has that. I'll see if I can show you. So you can do these retaining walls multiple different ways. This one I'm not too sure about the design here, but you can see here these metal holdbacks. This goes into the yard, and who knows how far it goes. Same as up here. So this is holding back all this ground from coming forward, and they just tie off just like a lag bolt here. So again, there's multiple different ways you can do retaining walls. This is just the way I'm doing mine, and I find it the easiest way, and I can do it by myself. So that was 10 cubic yards of sand I had to move by hand, which was not fun. And I could probably do with another 5 cubic yards to actually get it where I need. But I think the plan is now to order the stone. I need to tamp all this sand down. And then I think I'm going to do 5 cubic yards of stone for 4 inches. It calls for 3.5 cubic yards, but I think 5 just to fill in a couple of these low spots. But we'll get this tamped down and order the stone. and we're finished with the retaining wall / parking area. So actually the wood section, 6x6s and 2x12s, was actually really quick to put together. I think it only took me like 2 or 3 days to actually get this up. The hard part was the 10 cubic yards of sand and then the 9.5 tons of rock. This is number 57 granite. Doing this by hand took forever, and it was not easy. I still have some leveling to do as well on the granite, but I'm taking the day off. My back needs it. For the cost, I'm going to throw up on the screen now for the wood, sand, and stone. The sand, I paid $36 a cubic yard, and it was a $200 delivery fee. And I think it was kind of expensive for the sand. The rock, I was going to get it at the same place, and it's this exact rock, and they were going to charge $140 a ton, and it was going to come out to be like $1,200 for like 6 tons or something. So I ended up finding another place online. I'll drop it in the description below. It actually was almost half off. I mean, and I even got more. I was going to do 6 tons, but I got 9 tons with this place, and it cost me $700 and something, and that included delivery. So I would definitely look in the description for that place. It looked like they had areas all over the United States, but always shop around when you're looking for any kind of material, because when it comes to stone or sand, I mean, the prices vary so much. And where my location, there was only one place where I could find anything, and that's why the costs were so high. So luckily I was able to get it to the website. The drainage, we haven't had any really big rainstorms yet, but again, I'll watch it. If it does start eroding the sand, I plan to dig a hole here and just fill it with gravel. But if you wouldn't mind, think about subscribing, liking the video, and drop some comments below what you think.